Hi, everybody. TJ here. This is our premium member meeting for September 17th, 2024. And today we've also invited some of our other guest members from the free member category so they can listen on a few things that we're talking about these days. Lots to cover tonight. Hopefully we'll still get to some Q&A, but I want to mainly cover a couple of key topics. And I'll do some announcements and then we'll get right into that. So I like to start off our meeting with a brief prayer because I think that we're dealing in a pretty evil world, and I think we need protection. So those who wish to join, please feel free to do so. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, thank you for being with us, and thank you for giving us protection. Thank you for giving us the laws that we can use to our benefit for those who understand who we are. So we thank you for your understanding, and hopefully it will empower us with good words and ideas that we can help these people with. So I ask this in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So, also, legal disclaimer, of course, this is not legal or tax advice. Opinions expressed by the guests or attendees and are their own opinions. Even my opinion is just an opinion. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an accountant and not a tax advisor. Just showing you research and things that we found that works for us or for others who've told us about what they're doing. And we are just trying to be here and give you good information share. We're a private member association, effectively, a and also another term we kind of started using lately is convention, and that is actually meaning we're all under a contract with each other, just having a conversation. So keep that in mind. Anything you hear her should not be just ran with because you heard it. Go research it, check it out. Look up your own definitions. Um, I get a lot of questions from people in this area because uh, people will ask me, "What does this mean?" or "What does that mean?" And the question, my answer will almost always be, "Just be ready." Well, what did you find when you looked it up? What is it? What is the definition? Because you'll learn a lot more by looking it up yourself and asking me. That's why, having one of these, Black's Law Dictionary, fourth, fifth, sixth edition are fine, as well as some other law books or contract books that have definitions in them. Look things up. Don't take our word for it. When I say what does without prejudice mean, don't take my word for it. Make sure that you understand when you're using it, that that's the right thing to use. Or maybe you should be using without recourse for the context that you're dealing with. Or maybe you want to write void. Or maybe you want to say all rights reserved with recourse. Why would you use those words in any given context? Don't just, see it on a template and say, well, that's it. That's the way I'm supposed to do it. No, because if you're going to get challenged on it, you better be ready. Then you won't know. So, anything you do, use it. Okay. Because also, as they say when you go to court, anything you say and do can and will be used against you. So be careful what you say. Um, I'm going to have a couple of stories I got to remind myself of one I want to add to today. Uh, but first, my primary subject is can certain trusts legally help you become tax free and lawsuit proof, plus more information on deleting debt that we've come across. We got some good testimonials, so I'm going to be showing you those. Just reminders of some just housekeeping stuff. If you have questions about your login, you can't find your way around the website. First of all, try a little bit. Sometimes people just send us support tickets and they haven't really clicked around very much when they're brand new. Take the time to look around, check out the links. And unfortunately, a lot of things are probably going to get moved around soon because we're doing a major upgrade to the website and it's going to actually have a whole new look and feel. All the information will be there. It's just we're trying to make it, better. So be patient as we go through that. Take the time to look through where are the menus, where are the member pages, things like that. Generally, after that, things will look very similar. Uh, if you want information about joining or upgrading about something we talk about tonight, urlaw.org/join. Just remember /join gets you the upgrades and coaching options. The How to Win in Court Without a Lawyer course, it's an optional course. It's a third party course. It's not our course. We're just an affiliate. We just send people over there and people purchase it. But we find it's a very, very useful tool, especially with some of the things we're doing these days involving litigating a trust or or dealing with debt matters in court, the more prepared you are, the less likely it is you'll end up in court. You need to know that. In other words, when they see you coming and you're prepared and you're using intelligent language, they fear you. So it's good to study that course. It's a weekend course. You can do the whole thing. And there are many ways in which it can help you if you think about how you're applying it to what we're teaching. They don't teach some of the details we teach. They teach more the procedural things. We want to focus on ideas. There's also the premium member page shortcut. If you ever need that, urlaw.org/PM. Now, if you're not currently a premium member, like a free member here, you're going to have to upgrade. So go to the join page, find out whether you want to be a regular premium member or now the new gold delete debt premium member, which gets in much more detail about how to delete debts and clear up your credit and get new better credit scores or make a credit or situation go away. It's far more likely to be successful than the things where you hear about doing discharge and set off. Those things are fairly advanced. We're not really covering it in this context. We're focusing more on the things that are pretty easy to do, which is verification of debt, and they fail because we know the rules of the thumb are they can't verify anything. They'll go around you. They won't answer, but they won't verify because they can't. And the law says they must. That's what we're focused on. So that's the delete debt course if you don't have that. I'm going to show you a couple examples of how that can work. Then there's a zero tax trust and status coaching. Now, it's really less about status coaching, that course. It's more about setting up some trust, getting your assets out of your name so you're not as much of a target. And I've used that and it works. Again, I'll give you an example here shortly. And then the zero tax going forward. This is not about limiting something coming at you now. That's more the delete debt approach side of things. But it's the, going forward, how to just simply make sure that you're at almost a zero tax bracket, even though you make $1 million. We'll show you how to do that legally and, of course, lawfully. And that link is at urlaw.org/status info. Again, you can find this just going to the join page, and all these options are there. And if you're facing a no victim type criminal case and you're fairly innocent, check out the Slam Dunk program. That'll teach you. We can offer some coaching there on a criminal case. If it's early, you haven't already cut a deal, you haven't gone to trial, you're very early in the case, then that's the one thing we can help you out there. We can't really help you after the water's passed under the bridge too much. So, just keep that in mind when you look at that. But if you go to that page, it tells you all that information. Again, communicating with us on the bottom of our free member page, the premium member page, the gold member page, the status page, all the various study pages we have at the bottom is a comment section. The comment section is only there for members who are logged in and on that page. If you're not at that level, you won't see it. But that's where you ask questions and have discussions with each other, not Telegram. Telegram's out there. It's a nice little way to chat. It's very random. But if you're asking questions there that are class specific and other people aren't in the class, well, they're not going to be able to help you much. And I don't get around to all those messages. There's just too many. But the comment section we do have under control. We do have it. We can get answers to those questions. And we know when you're asking, well, what class are you in? Because it's appearing on that page. It makes it a lot easier for us to know what context you're asking the question in. And of course, make complete, simple questions. You want to make a comment, you probably won't get a reply. That's a great comment. That's nice information, but is there a question? That type of thing. So use the comments system. So a couple of things I wanted to cover in using some of the stuff that we talk about. And first, I'll give you sort of a general one that happened the other day. A friend of mine who has a situation where he's on federal probation and involves a tax situation. He was called in because they said he violated his probation order because his taxes weren't filed according to what the probation officer thought they should be. So I told him just be very compliant, get these things done, get them filed, get this past you, then you can go forward and start working on some of these things. And the probation officer jumped the gun and said, well, he didn't file. I told him he had to file. Well, the law actually says the IRS is supposed to tell you have to file. So who is he supposed to follow? And so they brought him into court, and also the probation officer gave him 30 days to take care of this and work with the IRS. And then 2 days later, he filed the complaint violating probation. And when you violate probation, guys, it's very hard to beat. I mean, there's not much anybody can do. You got to stick to that because it's a contract. Read it very carefully. I kept telling him, I said, read paragraph 6, read paragraph 7. That's your contract. They're violating that. Anyway, and there were provisions in there where he was supposed to work with the IRS, which he was doing, but also the probation officer jumps in there. Well, guess what? There's a case law that says, no, if there's a conflict, the IRS is supposed to be giving the instructions, not the probation officer. He's not a tax assessor. Okay? So I pointed out this problem to my friend. I said, no, just stick on that argument. And then they asked him when he went to court the other day, they said, did you violate paragraph 2? And he said, and he didn't know what to say. And I said, remember what I told him? Conditional acceptance. What's a conditional acceptance? Whenever somebody accuses you of anything, don't argue. It's kind of a biblical term. I think it's Matthew 25. Just turn the other cheek, right? Just accept it. So what he did is he conditionally accepted. I said, say yes, but I have a condition. And that's all he said. And the judge stopped and went, well, okay. It was kind of funny. I could see he sort of stopped things, but he was being polite. He wasn't being rude, but he didn't want to say he didn't do it. He didn't want to say he did do it. He did violate that sentence, but also the next sentence he didn't violate. So the two were in conflict. And I pointed that out. I said, you get a conflict in the order itself. You're caught in the middle. So he said, well, I did violate it, but with a condition. But okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'll get to that in a minute. So he went on and asked some prosecutors some questions and a couple other people questions. He said, now I want to get back to you. What did you mean by that? So by doing it right and with honor, he didn't get treated like a jerk. He got treated with respect. And he explained how these two instructions were conflicting in the same order. He says he was following it, but also when the probation officer pushed his buttons and tried to push it past a deadline that he doesn't control, well, now he's in conflict. Who is he supposed to follow? And so the judge goes, you know what? I think I need to have a word with that probation officer. So it kind of worked out pretty good. Unfortunately, he wasn't there that day. So, and that conditional acceptance can be very powerful if you understand what you're going to conditionally accept. I get a message a lot. People say, well, should I answer with a conditional acceptance? I said, well, that depends on what comes next. You conditionally accept what and why? Are you going to make an argument? Are you going to at least offer something? And so in the case he did that, and you know what? Even though the other side had nobody there to even testify against him, he says, you know what? He says, I'm going to go ahead for now. I'm going to continue this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to consider early release from your probation. So that would be a big win. Okay. And that's what I told him to also insert. I told him, now next, ask for that. Don't just ask for, let's just, keep probation going. I said, no, I think I complied. I should actually get an early release. And the judge goes, well, that's a really good point. So, because if I'm really not in violation, in fact, I've exceeded the orders by your order, and it was his orders, then I should be able to get early release because I've met the conditions and, and within a window where early release is allowed. And so not only did he get that, even though he's accused of something, he's probably going to get the early release just with the simple, the judge wants a phone call with the probation officer and then he'll decide whose story he believes. But at least my buddy got his testimony in and was truthful. That's all. Sometimes it's just using common sense works. The conditional acceptance, though, is what really set it up to go bring in his other conditions. So it's a negotiation. That's all it is. All right. So that's one interesting story, and I consider that to be a victory this week. The other one, I'm going to go, in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to the website and let's see. I added over here, when you go to the blog articles, you look at that category on here on the website, pull that down, and there is a category of testimonials. If you want to look by category, you can search by category, okay, of postings and so forth. But when we get a testimonial, I post them here. I'm way behind I'm getting more than I can even post right now. That's okay. Get them emailed to me. Don't just post them somewhere. I might miss it, but email it to me with details and a picture and so forth. But I'll give you a couple of here that just happened um, to show you that some of the things that we're bringing forth right now really are working. So this was, I don't know, she might even be here, Catherine, but I took her posting. This has probably got even a couple of typos. We really just posted this a few minutes ago. We haven't checked it, but there it is, a typo right there. Anyway, Catherine, let's see me open this up. So we open that article up. The quick credit boost story. This just came in. She's relatively new in the Delete Debt course. I don't know how far back she joined, but it's only been around a couple of months, so she's already getting progress. Um, but and by the way, if you anywhere I have these postings, I do make a link to the course where if you haven't joined it, you can upgrade. If you're a premium member, it'll automatically upgrade and stop your old membership and start you on the new one. But get the details here. But her success story was the credit bureaus have quickly removed old addresses, employers, aliases. Equifax hasn't yet removed my old names. Hard inquiries as taught in the course and classes. Things are pretty cleaned up, and I have one negative account left. That's not bad. She kind of had a mess. And then overall, my score is still pretty good, regardless of this one negative account. I added Rental Karma, which reports rent payments on a house, and I'm going to um, add my business address. I got to correct that typo there. And it raised her score 40 points. So, good start. She's not done yet, but that's a quick kind of result you can get. And these were some of what I call the quick strategies. She probably did a lot of this by phone call. It didn't take necessarily just the letters. We do have a letter you send to credit bureaus, but that's in conjunction with other things you might be challenging too. So everybody's situation is different. You have to use the tools. It's kind of like a toolbox. At the right time, you pull the right tool out and you do the right thing. So she did that. She got it, and there she is. So um, here's another one, and I'm very close to this matter here. Yeah, let's go to this one. It says $66,236 in medical bills erased. Now, this just came in. This just happened. Um, this was combined using some letter strategies that we used in the Delete Debt course, but also using the Status Trust Wealth program, where we actually, you want to get your assets out of your name, because when they're coming after you, they start doing asset searches. And if stuff's in your name, they're more likely to be aggressive. Now, you don't have to do this to do the Delete Debt things, but what it does is it adds leverage. But also, in medical bill situations, they're kind of unique. It's not like a loan where we're saying you didn't loan us money. They did provide the medical service, okay? So obviously there might be something that has to be paid. But in this case, there was no insurance to cover it. So this actually was closer to a $200,000 overall cost, this whole event. Didn't take very long to get to that level. But in this particular case, there was one hospital. Um, they were and basically they reduced the hospital bill, but after using a couple of these strategies, and then we actually, in this case, they actually applied for um, the like a medical assistance. But why could they qualify? Because their assets aren't in their name and their income is reduced using these zero tax. So in other words, when they show their tax returns, they show almost making nothing, even though they might make $1 million, because that's how it works. This is how the wealthy do things. So in the end, they gave them benefits and reduced the hospital bill by 85%. So here's the letter that came through. And it says, we review the information you provided and determine that those listed below are eligible for an 85% reduction in the outstanding balance. This is actually over 2 different events. Not bad. Then they turn around and said, oh, by the way, we can get you some insurance now. So for the rest of your bills coming up on this long-term care situation, you'll have insurance for it. But you might not know that the current healthcare law kind of does some good stuff in that way in terms of uninsured people and things like that. But see, we qualified because in their situation, they had done these things to reduce their value in terms of having taxable income, having assets to go after. And so now, since this in an insurance situation, I mean, these medical situations, you have to negotiate. So they negotiated it and got all that. Not bad, because the rest of the bills are well over 200,000. So that insurance is going to take care of that. So they actually, this is more than 66,000. All right. And it's just more of the accounting they gave. This is a long list of accounting, but this is kind of where it broke down the various bills and charges, surgeries, brain surgery that was involved. But reduced the bill $66,236. Not a bad day of doing a few documents, letters, and an application for the benefit. But that's the kind of stuff that we try to teach in the delete debt course. This is in the this is the kind of a combination of the there's a section there on hospital bills and dealing with that, and the full version of that is in the delete debt course. So it might have medical bills. You don't want to pay for insurance because it's pretty expensive. So this is going to work out to be less than the premium on insurance would be for the next year just to pay it off, because it's not 66,000; it's down under 10,000. But and we got the full coverage was taken care of. So you can do these things. All right. By the way, there's nothing that says that this bill couldn't be put on a credit card and then challenge the credit card. Just an idea, right? So does work. There's proof. Let's see another one. Let me get back to the blog. There's one more I wanted to show you. It's kind of part of the whole same medical event, but it's an ambulance bill because there was an ambulance involved in this. And again, this was because of the using the two strategies together. Mostly, it was the challenging of the debt using the bidding hospital bills strategy from the delete debt course. But this got the bill. I think it was $7,000 or $8,000. I don't have the numbers here, but it was a pretty good, sizable bill. It'd been outstanding for a year. And by the way, in all these situations I'm showing you, none of it ever got on the credit file because of what we teach you to do. But this one gave up after a while. We love it when they go to a third-party debt collector, like this is Credence, there'll be a law firm or law firms. Oh, we're the lawyer for so and so. Yeah, right. You're a debt collector. You bought the debt after a long time. After it's been delinquent, it's going to be a bought debt. Third-party debt collector, and this is for an ambulance. They did get some money, and but the bottom line is they just gave up. Okay, nothing shows up on the credit. So stuff does work. Um, I will get. We're going to get more and more of these posted up here. But if you want to look at, keep checking under the testimonials category of the blogs, and you will see more of those. Okay. Uh, Now, just in review, I mentioned a couple of times, so I just want to bring it up here. Is the this is looking inside the study area of the status and wealth protection course, which has to do with basically turning your income, and I don't care if you make $1 million, into nearly zero, and therefore reducing the taxes that go with that. Done through what's a process that's recognized in the banking system. We teach it in detail in the course. We actually have this is another success story I haven't posted yet, but it was posted somewhere that wasn't an email. But was confirmed that he said he saved, I don't know what the number was, but it was 10 or 50 times, I don't know, what the cost of the program was on his tax bill this year because of the reduction of what he would have paid lawfully, right under the IRS's nose. Okay, you always want to do things that they will look at and go, oh, okay, that makes sense, that works, that's lawful. Instead of going and hiding under a rock and saying, I'm not a taxpayer, I'm not a person, or I'm not a corporation. I get all that, but that usually doesn't win the day. What wins the day is what you can show in law. So that's all we're showing in the trust course and the tax course as far as that program. If you really want to get serious about cutting your costs the next year, like who knows, 10 or 100 times the cost of the course, get it and get involved and do it and start doing it. But you have to start making deposits today a certain way. And only those deposits going forward can get into this program. All right. And then when you get to this point where you don't have many assets in your name, and you don't have hardly any income in your name, and you even got a tax return that shows it, you can show that to every benefit program that's out there. You want to collect food, you want to collect housing assistance, you want to collect all kinds of things. We learn a lot about in the sovereign world. You hear these people talk about it's all, well, everything's prepaid. Everything is covered. It really is. This is just a phony double entry account bookkeeping system we got here. But the benefits go to those who are wise. You know who one of the richest, well, no, I guess now maybe is the richest guy on the planet. You know what his number one thing he does is? Well, other than having his property inside trusts and managing things that way, okay? And you hear about these complaints about, oh, the billionaires don't pay any taxes. Yeah, because they follow the law. But the biggest thing is he ends up having no income to speak of. And you know what he qualifies for? Big government grants and contracts. And that's what his tunneling company is all about. That's what his rocket company is all about. It's all government contracts. How does he get those contracts? Partially because he's relatively poor. He understands how the system works. There is no money. There's only credit, and the things go to those who are wise. How does Donald Trump become a mega billionaire and have some foreclosures and some bankruptcies and things like that? Because he knows how to use the system. He knows the rules of the game. There's nothing wrong with it. I've met with Robert Kiyosaki personally. And he says, yeah, he says people running around doing these stupid things, trying to hide under a rock. How far does that get them? It gets them under a rock. He goes, you essentially just got to look like you're poor on paper. And all it takes is to understand some basics of trust to do that. And then if you have to deal with debts, you have to know what the law says and attack those directly. They get paid in a different way. But remember, if it's a bank debt, they never loaned you money in the first place. When you understand the course, you'll see it very clearly. They actually didn't. You created the money, you created the credit, a security instrument. The security instrument was sold, deposited, and then money came out of a ledger back to the other party. But it took your depositing a security instrument. We are the energy. Our labor, our creativity is what creates anything. So don't ever feel guilty about getting something free. You didn't really get it free. You already have it. Does that make sense? You just don't understand how to use your power. So that's why I try to cover these two major areas in dealing with debts, to kind of get the pressure off, get your status set up, and so forth. You don't have to do the status and wealth stuff. You don't have to do the tax stuff. But if you do them both, you're gonna create a massive amount of wealth that you currently have access to, but you're not using it. So that's my quick overview of those subjects for today. If there's anything else I need to cover, um, I think I got it. I mentioned we're going to rebuild the website, so that's actually well underway. So it'll have a different look and feel. The same links will be there. You just have to maybe look in a different place for them. But take the time to look. It looks pretty interesting what we're doing. We're just trying to grow and manage and have higher capacity as we do so, as we have a lot more members coming in. And we appreciate all those who are members, and we're sticking it out and doing the work. As you know, we don't try to offer silver bullets and templates. We're here to teach you how to think so that you can create these documents or take what we give you and make them better for your use. And sometimes when you see improvements on our page, it's because somebody improved on it and said, hey, what do you think of this? And I go, hey, that's a good idea. We put it in. So we're always staying up to date because you're the ones out there on the front line, not me. I am sometimes, but generally it's you guys. So anyway, what I want to do is I want to go to if we have success stories for Q&A first. If you have some sort of a success, something using something we did specifically recently, let me hear it. You will. And if you don't have one to bring up, that's fine too. We'll just go over to some general questions. Also, I won't take the general questions. Well, the first general questions I'll take are only from premium member level students, gold premium members, or those maybe in the status training, because I want to kind of address things that I might have brought up here today. I'm actually going to do a special status training here soon because we're doing some updates. We have updated the private ministry language a little bit, which will help you create a ministry that's actually an alter ego name of yours and truly operate privately, but using your name. Your name, not the appointed name they gave you. Very important, but under the status of a ministry. Again, that's in the status and wealth training. So any success stories? Anybody want to raise their hand at this time? You want to raise your hand? If not, then I'll go over to, and they'll come up later. They always do. But otherwise, start with questions from premium level members or above. If you're a free member, wait till the very end. Hopefully, everybody's able to raise their hands. I didn't like set a setting that you can't. Click the raise hand function on your screen. You got to have some. There's Catherine. Okay.
Hey, TJ, Catherine.
Yes. How
Hey,
are you?
good. How are you?
Great.
Are you gonna go over the trust stuff today, or what was your? I thought that's what the meeting thing said because I had questions about that, but I wanted to hear your overview.
Well, I'm not doing a course on that today. That would be a separate call just for those in that class.
Oh, okay.
Um, but that's I probably can do that within the next week. We're gonna have a special trust to class and
Oh,
talk about a few things we're tweaking on it.
yeah,
So
that would be amazing. I have so many questions.
I'm sure you do. You do good work. You work it. Catherine here is one of the students who takes what we do and goes to the next level and asks a lot of good questions. And as a result of participating and taking personal responsibility, she's getting results.
Yeah, yeah. So far, so good.
Yeah, yeah. You get
So
a
yeah,
credit
I
score.
was the one that submitted the thing about the credit.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was kind of a combination of calling, writing, and then submitting disputes on the website. And I'm in the middle of trying to get rid of that one negative account. So I'm at the small claims court stage. I actually submitted. Well, are you answering questions about that or no?
Yeah.
So I submitted a complaint with the CRFB or whatever. What's it called? The Consumer Board for about that particular creditor, and you
Okay.
mentioned to write them a letter. So is it like a notice of intent to litigate with the complaint as
Uh,
like leverage?
no, I mean if you're dealing with an agency and they're in a complaint, you follow their complaint process, whatever it is. They change sometimes. But if you're going to a particular agency, go to their website and look up their complaint procedure and know it very well before you file a complaint. This is not court. So in of intent to litigate, you don't need to say that. What you could say though is, I'm currently about to file a report with this agency based upon this, and you can, in the light of giving your brother notice, show them what you're about to file. Send it to them. Say, I'm about to file this unless you want to go ahead and get this thing taken care of and settled.
Yeah.
Then file it. And this is all before you go to court. I mean, these are ways to go do things before going to court. I mean, as much as possible, you want to stay out of court, but show them you're ready to go if you have
Right. Okay. Got it.
to. Okay.
In this particular credit case, it's based on it's a home improvement loan. So it's classified on my credit report as a mortgage.
Right. Right. So it might be different than a consumer loan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's going to be more difficult to get them to back off.
Well, as I say, anything that's a liened loan like that, car loan, mortgage loan, they're definitely going to be more aggressive and difficult to deal with because they got the lien, got a contract, they can wait around till you quit. They
Right.
just know
But
they have that attitude.
they still broke laws. So I'm just
Yeah,
wondering if you
and
can
that's fine.
I can take them to small claims and maybe just get enough money out of the laws they broke just to pay the thing off.
Perhaps, if you put enough leverage on them, I personally, I got to get this posted on here too, but I had a second mortgage lender who, through asking, I mean, basically I asked for the internal accounting. I wanted to know because they charged it off. I wanted to see the tax statements. I wanted to see how much money they received in tax benefits. I wanted to see how much they received in insurance because once they do that, they file insurance. And I said, now adjust my account with those things. Well, of course, they didn't want to talk about any of that, but they did
Yeah.
come back and said, "Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll just, you don't have to make any payments anymore on this, but you can pay us off when the loan matures in 10 years or something, and we won't charge you any interest penalties, and it'll come off your credit." So I got like 90% of what I wanted except the principal. But they didn't acknowledge what I sent them. They never acknowledge that you're right. But if you get some action out of them, that's what you want.
Right. Okay.
This happens a lot in court too with judges. They want to really acknowledge what you said, but all of a sudden do you a favor. It's kind of like that judge yesterday. He just kind of like, they got us, but he didn't want to let anybody win. So
Yeah.
he tweaked it and just said, but if you do this, we'll do it. Okay, great. Thanks. We'll take that,
Yeah. So it's kind of acknowledging victory when it doesn't look like nobody's going to announce that you won. You have to see for what it is.
Well, some of you probably been around long enough to know a guy named Jack Smith. He died a couple of years ago. We were good friends. He's a guy that taught me a lot of this stuff. He's, a generation or two ahead of me, but he passed away. He was great, a really interesting guy. He used to he'd take a film and he'd give you a film analogy of what explaining law. He was really good at it. And it'd be always like the latest film. He'd give a film review. And he'd always say, sometimes Hollywood's telling you what's going on and you're just not paying attention. That was one of his famous phrases. We talk about The Matrix, but all kinds of movies. He would use their analogies and they write into the scripts. The other one was that he'd say, sometimes you don't know when you're winning. You think you're fighting. In reality, if you're staying on track, and he was like the king of conditional acceptance, you set it up right, that you box them in. And they come back with a kind of a strange response, kind of like what you want, but maybe not directly because they don't want to acknowledge that you just nailed them. But that was his strategy. It was like, sometimes you don't know when you're winning. So, you do what you can do, you get what you can get, and you move on. Don't hold on for the perfect outcome. You don't have to win by 1 point to win the game. You can have some close games along the football season, and at the end, if you got the most wins, you still win. So, sometimes it's a numbers game. Okay? Alicia? Okay, I guess she's done maybe. All right. Then we got Nathan.
Hey TJ, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Awesome. Well, I thought I'd just mention I took the equity class and I discharged 3 loans, one on a tractor, one on a RV, and one on a truck. And I started this about a year ago, and I still have all 3 of those things. 2 of them have been charged off, and the other one's the Alabama Credit Union. They're fighting with me a little. Well, they're hanging on for dear life, but I'm just escalating that a little bit. Question for you on credit repair, though. I just recently went in and disputed all 3 of those to try to get the charge-offs taken off, and they hung on to it. I'm going to do some other equity processes, but I've used that free credit repair process. Is there anything else that you can comment on or recommend?
Well, again, I personally, when it comes to getting stuff off your credit, I would not necessarily rely on the equity to do it. There's nothing to compel them to follow that. But if the law says if it's disputed and they haven't verified, they have to remove it, use those specific laws. They only obey their boss. And their boss are those laws. Make them follow their laws. And if you're specific enough in compelling them to verify the debt, that's why we do we do like all 3 debt verification letters, show them in default, show all that happen. And then that's another follow-up you can send to the credit bureau. They need to remove it until it's resolved. And we always add in, and by the way, it's also in litigation. Again, it needs to be removed until it's resolved. Now, they're not going to come back and re-verify that debt at that point. So it's gone. That's typically what happens.
So is that something that's on the website that you can point me to, or?
Yeah, it's in the Delete Debt Gold course. I think session 3. gets into what to do with the credit bureaus. But also, you have to use a little common sense. If you've done a set of letters to a lender and they've refused to do it, now you come back over again. Sometimes you hit the credit bureaus a couple of times with the evidence that they need to release.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in the delete debt course.
Okay. I've been listening to you for a long time, and with equity, I'm really comfortable with credit cards and secured loans or whatever.
Mhm.
Property tax is pretty intimidating for me, and I have this little entry
Property tax is tough.
yeah, I have this entry in my memory, and I probably have it wrong, but I started listening to you years ago. Um, it seems like I remember hearing you say one time property tax is the easiest thing in the world. And did I just totally mishear that? Or was that a different?
Probably, or I don't know what context that was in. When you've had thousands and thousands of hours of discussions, who knows what's come out.
Like 5 or 6 years ago, so I'm probably wrong, but
But I
it,
doubt it. I would say it's easy. And I don't know what we were talking about. It could have been.
well, the context was about like the property tax bills not having a dollar sign and not
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're
BC.
talking about the kind of using it as a negotiable instrument, and that it's they don't specify a dollar amount. There's a story. I've only maybe heard this twice, where a property tax bill. It's not easy, but it's kind of like there's an obvious thing there that you can kind of run with. Don't expect them to go along with it, but but sometimes it happens where if it gets into court, you say, well, it says pay 3,046. It doesn't say dollars. It doesn't say dollar signs. There's not even a dollar sign in the box. So there's a story that says a guy that he went to court and the judge said the contract doesn't say what 3,046 what. So I've got some Mexican pesos here, and that's about, I don't know, $60 in Mexican pesos, and he says there's your currency. It doesn't say what currency it has to be. Another story is a guy did it with coffee beans.
Are you saying is that he was successful with that?
He was told us he was successful with that. Yeah. Another one was using the coffee bean argument. You got to be able to go to court, and you got to make a good argument, because it took the judge's decision to say, what does the contract say it has to be paid in? You don't engage in the argument. Well, why aren't you paying your property taxes? You don't want to pay your property taxes.
Yeah.
As soon as you go in there, you've lost. What you say is, I want to pay. It's conditional acceptance. This is why I say it's very, very important. I know in our equity class, Ashley doesn't like conditional acceptance. I said, no, conditional acceptance you should always do first, because usually you can win easy, quickly, than going through a year of equity stuff. So I conditionally accept that if you can prove to me that it tells me what I'm required to pay in. And of course, 31 USC 3124 and 18 USC 8 specify that you can't pay a debt with a debt, basically, when you look at those two combined. So in light of that, how do I pay a debt when it says the states cannot require me to use a particular currency? And so that's why on the bill, there's no currency. So here's your beans. I'll give you 3,026 beans. And he just stood on that argument. And it was actually a great argument because it was logical.
You referenced 18 USC 8. What was the other one you rattled off?
31 USC 3124. I actually think I have in the some of the documents for the premium members, probably in just like the general folder. I don't remember, but I have them sort of there to demonstrate how these two basically outline that a state cannot require you to pay particular currency. They certainly can't require to use anything like Federal Reserve notes and so forth. When you look at the two and you read the wording carefully, you go, you're right. You look at those two, how can they make me pay anything with any particular form of currency?
But I mean, essentially,
that's why I say the bills always don't have a currency on them.
It seems like the assessment does have a dollar sign on it, but the bill doesn't. Does that match up with what you've seen?
I'm only concerned about the bill, really.
Yeah.
They'll put it on a bill, then they're willing to back it as a contract. But see, that's why I say they don't put it on there. That was sort of the loophole we were playing And I think you could play it out if you really wanted to. You just got to be prepared to go to court and make it very narrow, simple argument.
I mean, essentially, so would you show up as special appearance? I mean, it sounds like you're describing an equity approach with just compelling performance by asking questions. Does
Yeah,
that match up
that's
with?
always what I'm trying to do is ask questions. That's what a conditional acceptance is too. By the way, it says, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I got a question or I got an issue, you know,
Uh,
and
you're talking about mixing a conditional acceptance with an overall sort of equity approach of asking questions.
well, yeah, I mean, I'm always asking questions no matter what you call it. It's just, anything you say and do can and will be used against you. So if my questions are all they have, then all they got is questions, not answers, not claims.
Yeah.
It's like that judge asked my friend, well, you need to say you did this or you didn't do that. And he said, well, okay. Finally, he figured out what to say. He says, well, I'll say I did with the condition. Now he just altered the offer. He just changed the formula. So now the condition had to be heard.
Hey, I just happen to need to get a driver's license right now because I've moved and I need to change the address. I know you don't want to give specific advice, but would you say it's reasonable for me when I go in there to just sign all rights reserved and use um, my attorney tells me to, sign this way. Are you an attorney? Are you giving me legal
Yeah,
advice?
that's still always a valid thing. I got an article, actually, look at our blogs. I did one a couple weeks ago, and I think I covered it on a call. Um, some discussion about the different ways to limit your liabilities. And 'cause that's what it is. It's about limiting liability, not about the signature as much as limiting your liability. So you could say, you could sign your name and then without recourse. That's actually a stronger one than all rights reserved. Because all rights reserved generally has to do with a copyright. Are we talking about a copyright here? Are we talking about what I want this what is this situation? You have to ask yourself, in this situation, what do I want to protect? I want to protect them from being able to use their statutes against me. So I'll sign here. I'll take your document, but without liability, without recourse. That's one way you could sign.
Is that what with I know I've got a Black's Law, I'll look it up, but is that kind of is without recourse sort of synonymous with without liability
Very
or
close, without prejudice or without liability. You could say either one. You say it as long as it's clear. Most people understand what without recourse means. Yeah, I don't. I'll sign it, but not with any recourse. I'm not accepting any liability.
all right.
Some people sign things other ways too. I mean, without prejudice is good, but there's also conflicts. People do this too. Sometimes they screw themselves by putting so damn many things on there that it doesn't make sense. For example, if you say all rights reserved without prejudice, you just simply say, well, I reserve my rights, but with the right to waive that. That's when you say without prejudice. With that doesn't make sense. But people just throw stuff they see on a template and throw it in there. Use one that makes sense. Hey, if I'm acting as the beneficiary, when I sign on Social Security, I might not say without recourse. I'll say I'm a beneficiary. I'm acknowledging that it's a trust. Now I want to be treated as a beneficiary. That's the context I would do on Social Security. Understanding what am I actually doing that qualification for? What do I want to accomplish? You want a driver's license without the liabilities. So say that. And they'll push back, and then you know the script.
Hey, I'll just mention one more thing. When I took the equity class, and I also took the legal process class that I forget what that one's called. But
How to win in court without a lawyer course.
yeah, that which I'm going to take that again because the first time I was just learning. Now I have something I can use it
I go
for.
back and review that every now and then. It's got a lot of good tidbits in there.
Well, just in terms of success stories, I was in a tough spot about a little over a year ago, just financially and a lot of child support alimony stuff weighing on me. And I originally started listening to you, trying to figure out how to get out from under that. But I sold the land that I was living on in an RV and literally put my last $5,000 that I had to my name in an envelope and put it in the mail, which 0% of people I know would have condoned that kind of behavior. I still have some negative, I didn't know my credit score could go as low as it went. I'm going to work on that next. Not that I
Mhm.
need it, but um, I I guess I got out from something like $150,000 worth of debt. And
Pretty good
yeah,
return on investment then.
yeah, and for me, income tax is next. The property
Yeah.
tax is the one that's intimidating me still, but um, the
It's a
more I,
little tricky. Like anything with a lien on it is going to be the most difficult. First mortgage, second mortgage is out now done, but first mortgages they got that first priority lien. The car loan. But we do have a new document. It's in the delete debt course that was added to. I covered this. Let's see here if I can bring this up. I covered this. It was last week, a couple weeks ago. It's a document we added to it. So you got to keep checking in here to see if we add something. Sometimes it just gets popped in there. Session 4, we added this document, special suit for the bonds on mortgages or car loans. You might want to open that up and read it a couple times.
um,
Session 4 in the delete debt course. And then there's the general downloads documents for that section. Each session has its own downloads. But then this one's the one we just added, which we covered in that meeting maybe the last gold meeting that's in the back office. But yeah, it's a special suit going to small claims court essentially on a mortgage and car loans. You're suing. You're not being sued, so you're no longer the defendant, and you're suing to get everything removed, including violations of some federal laws.
mm.
Go check it out.
Do you think, okay, do you think land patents are a good tool for,
I don't have an opinion on land patents. I've seen people use it. I mean, I'll give you an opinion, I guess, in the sense that I personally wouldn't, because once you do a land patent, the old saying goes, be careful what you wish for. It might just work. And you might not have to pay property tax. Good luck ever selling the title, the car, the house again, or the property again, because you
mm,
just create a huge cloud on title.
a huge what?
Cloud.
Mm,
You know what cloud on title is?
no.
All right. So let's say that I don't know, your house has changed hands a couple of times, but nobody got it properly recorded. And then you go to buy it. A buyer comes along, wants to buy it. Their bank says, run a title policy against it. You get title
Oh,
insurance. Title
mhm.
company says, oh, we will not insure this. And guess what? The deal falls apart.
Because they can't tell,
You
they don't
can't get
see
title insurance.
ownership.
And evidence of the history of ownership is messed up. Once it becomes a land patent, it kind of disappears. So, like I said, be careful what you wish for. I think it has a trade-off. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my general opinion because I used to do a lot of real estate, and clouds on title are the biggest pain in the butt you can deal with.
Well, I did use some equity mindset and tool to get my property tax lowered like $600. And when I first went in there, the
Yeah.
lady tried to
Okay.
push the door, and I kept pushing and asking questions, and about them causing, I forget how I worded it now, but you know, financial harm.
Mm-hmm.
And she put me through to her boss, and he came out and remeasured stuff, and they had made 3 mistakes. So,
Oh, there you go. So it's just sometimes worth just use common sense. Here's the
mhm.
other thing you could do, maybe on property taxes, it might be helpful, is if you are doing, for example, some of the material that we do in our status course, this is for everybody to hear this, where you're taking things out of your name, you don't have any assets, you're with using the tax strategy, you're reducing your taxes, that even you file a return showing almost zero taxes. Now you go to the county and say, hey, I'm a pauper, I need the reduced tax housing benefit. They'll knock that way down. You can make a lot of money just off not making any money.
The more I look at how just so many people have had their hand in my pocket for the last whatever
Yeah.
years, and the more I look at it, I mean, even looking at the cost of, the diesel exhaust fluid system that's in my truck, it's like,
Yeah. 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 Well, and
just,
again, a lot of it's, when you know a few things, you're playing the game wrong. That's all.
mm. All right. Well, I've taken enough
Thanks,
time.
Nathan. Nice talking to you.
Same.
Chris looks from Minnesota. Let me get to you here. Yeah.
Unmute.
There we go. I think
All
I
right,
got you.
there we
Okay.
go. Thank
Hi.
you, sir. Hi.
How you
All
doing?
right, two real quick ones. Minnesota's weird.
So I hear.
They allow, yeah, they allow the debt collectors to send you basically a template of a summons and complaint without having filed it.
Yeah.
I
They do
looking for
that all over the
I
place. It's not a law.
okay. So I think I answered my question. I just want to confirm. I should just respond using a claim in motion as if it were going to court, but just send it to the attorneys. Is that
Uh, I think that's called bait. Don't bite the red herring. Um, you simply just, if you're dealing with that debt collector agency, keep sending your letters. That should be your response. Act as if because they do it to us all the time. They'll act like you didn't say anything, or you said something they didn't understand. They just keep going. What we do is do the same thing. We just keep going, and then when you go to get ready, you give a chance. I'm going to give you a chance to settle this, or I'm filing my suit, or going to this agency and filing the complaint. But yeah, the fake summons thing is very common. But if it's
so?
not in the court, don't respond to it as a summons. You just simply keep sending your letter and say you didn't verify the debt. Now I'm suing you. You just go on your track. Don't bite the red herring.
Okay, just stick with letters, even though
It's not in
they're
court, then it's
saying
still it's administrative until it's in court. Then you have to use court procedure.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Okay. If it's a summons
Then
from a
second
court,
one,
then you've got to answer the summons, and you start there. But I don't think
well,
you're
I
there.
got served, but that's not the same thing. So sure.
Well, maybe not enough. They got served. Again, depends on if it's legit. You got to go check things out yourself. You have to go down to the courthouse and say, "Is this actually the case?" And then you go
Right,
to
but they don't have a case. Yeah, there's no case number on it or anything like that. So it comes blank, but
don't
ready to
assume
go.
that.
So
Don't assume that it's not. Go to the courthouse and say, "Has this been filed?" Talk to the clerk. They'll tell you.
okay. All right, I can do that.
Know what you're working with.
And then the next thing was just kind of for anyone. Again, I've made dumb choices in the past, and so now I'm
Welcome to the
looking
club.
at a lien from from what's called a commissioner filed return, where the state is saying, hey, you haven't filed your taxes, so we're just going to pretend that you owe this amount. And
Yeah.
I was just curious from a sequencing. I have the delete course. Where should I be focusing? Should I be going to the status? Should I be
Okay.
equity? Yeah, please.
It kind of depends on what you get your hands on. I mean, it's one thing when like the status equity thing is about starting today, setting up a record so that the next year when I file, I can file almost zero.
Yep.
This isn't to go fix something in the past, unless you and again you want to have stuff out of your name, so there's less to come after. That's what it accomplishes. That's kind of like setting yourself up going forward. As far as deleting debt, there is one section in there, and I got to verify this because if I haven't done it, I'm going to add it. But I think it is in there in the bonus materials on the main page. But it's a collection due process request. Okay. Now, first of all state taxes, and I don't know if there are any exceptions that I'm aware of, are basically calculated based upon a federal return. And the liability comes under the same rules, effectively. They just simply say, we reflect IRS code, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So they're just copycats, mini-me's. And so this is just coming from the state, not from the IRS, right?
Correct.
Now, did you, for that same year, is this a situation where you filed or not filed? Because that, all these things matter.
I have not filed.
Not filed. So that's where the state's getting.
Yeah, they.
Okay.
Yep.
So, I don't know if your state might have like a similar to collection due process hearing procedure. But you might want to look into that. Look at that collection
Okay.
due process hearing request that's it's kind of under the bonus. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Offhand, I'm trying to remember if I put it there. Going to the course, we go down here to the sessions and then the bonus material. I thought I added this up. There's the newest mortgage response. Notice of pending suit. I just maybe don't have it posted yet. But basically, if you're going to use it, just email me. But because I thought we had this posted up here. But it's like with the IRS, they have what's called a collection due process. Every single bill you get from the IRS is going to say, you have a right to due process and you can request a collection due process hearing. And most people run from that because they don't have a plan. But I
Right.
have someone who's dealing with state taxes in Ohio. They're really coming hard after like criminal stuff for filing, and but it's all tied to her either lack of filing or what she did file because she got confused. She was filing, then stopped filing, and it created a big
Yep.
mess. But the only thing that stopped all of it was this collection due process hearing request, but not the general one they give you. It's a set of conditions, a conditional acceptance. How many times you heard me say that? You say, okay, I'll do your
Yep.
collection due processing, and here's my conditions to do this. And they're all reasonable conditions. But it starts asking about specific laws, et cetera, et cetera. But what that accomplished is it stopped all the federal and state cases. Stopped. Like bankruptcy stopped something. Just went, boop, stop. And then, of course, I told her, I said, now, as far as once you file with the IRS, bring it over, proof of it that the IRS received it, because they'll give you a proof they received it. Take that, plus the proof they received it, over to the state case and say, all action needs to stop until this matter is resolved. Because it all is tied to the IRS and what they
Right.
come up with. See? So you put it back to the IRS, she spun it back over there with their collection due process. And the collection due process hearing, I mean, it's at least a year away, if that. Meanwhile, this whole big case they had against her, criminal case, is just on lockdown. And the answers to the collection due process questions will prove that the course case itself is bogus.
Gotcha.
So it's like a discovery request
because
at the same time.
And that would roll in because they go so far as to they already lien the property based on the fact that you didn't file,
they have
so they
to
just
stop
assume you.
all collection activity once that is underway.
Okay.
You have a right.
All right.
To do
Awesome.
So again, a lot of people running from them because they're tax agencies. I don't want to talk to them. I'm afraid of them. Now, you better go and start talking to them. It does help. It's like the Bible says, you have a conflict with your brother, go to him and go to the brother and talk to him. Matthew 18, verse 15, 16, and 17. That procedure is the answer to so many things.
Well, the mistake I made, and I'm sure there are others, that I didn't finish a process. I got relief temporarily, and I never closed the door. And you say it a lot, say, hey, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. So those are very wise words, and I appreciate hearing them because I stopped and it wound up biting me.
But listen, I've been there, done those things. It's okay. We're all human. We're all trying to figure this game out. All I'm trying to do is help people do a better job of figuring it out. And there's a lot we can do. This is our government. This is our country. These people work for us. They are public trustees,
Amen.
and we are the beneficiaries. They have a duty to protect us. Freedom, no less.
Amen. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You bet. Sean. I got you, Sean.
Hi, TJ. Yeah. Am I on?
Yes.
Okay, cool. This is my first time, so I'm a little new to your groups. Just a quick clarification: is this Q&A, or are you doing a class tonight? I'm a little
This is,
confused.
well, I gave a little session earlier about the using trusts and a few
Okay,
strategies, but more or less examples were the training. The specific training, every week, kind of just pick a topic like this one tonight was about.
gotcha. Okay,
Can trusts do these things? Yeah, they can. Then I lead you, of course, off into here's where the full course is on that, so you go down
okay, gotcha.
more.
All right, cool. So you're just taking Q&As now.
Yeah, basically, hopefully the Q&A is from material, like premium member material or whatever.
Well, I don't know if this fits, but you
Go
did
ahead.
speak on it, so I'm I'm needing some insight. Part of your strategy is, or that you've put forth is, put everything in a trust, get all your assets out,
The
so that
right
you're
kind of trust.
basically
Yeah.
a pauper. Um, as a business owner myself, I'm actually in the opposite scenario in that, um, as an S corp, I've got all my profits and losses flowing through to me personally, which has basically screwed me,
Yep.
to where now, because
Don't do that.
the way that I've done everything, um, I'm being made to look like a pauper because my accountant is really good and
Okay.
I don't pay a whole lot, but that's now screwed me over in not being able to qualify for a mortgage. Um, so
Yeah, the
my
mortgage
strategy,
qualifying thing is tricky because, however, let me just give you probably still get a lot of cash flow to your account though, right?
well, I mean, if underwriters would do their due
No, no, no,
diligence,
no, no. I'm leading to a question here because I'll tell you exactly how underwriters do it. I used to write mortgage contracts. That's where I learned a lot of this stuff. I used to create when there was before there was a secondary market and there was unconventional loans. I was helping a company actually create these things, make them marketable securities and everything. Let me give you a little insight. Most, not banks, but mortgage broker companies who can move mortgages to different channels to do them can do what are called not stated income, but alternative documentation. I think that's what they call it now. So and this is not, fog a mirror and get a loan thing. It's, hey, if you don't have tax returns, what other options do you have? You got to ask that question. Now, start with that, like right there. No, I don't have, if I don't have tax returns, I'm self-employed, what are your other alternatives? You have alternative documentation. And what they do often is they'll just take 12 months of your deposits to your personal account and use that as the number to qualify. They may charge a little more interest. You're not going to get the premium deal, but you can get a mortgage. But you don't get it through a bank. Banks will offer one choice. Mortgage brokers will offer a variety of ways to get the loans. Right now, in this particular market, with the kind of the loan markets have slowed down a little bit, then they're more aggressively willing to do those things. You got to ask for alternative documentation, no tax return options. You might require you to put more down. You might pay a little higher interest rate, like half point or something. I don't know. But ask for that first. Then you don't play the rest of the game. You just give them what they want. Okay?
well, will mortgage brokers typically be able to
Brokers are
accommodate?
the ones that have the options of doing more than just one bank. They'll have secondary banks and private companies, and they'll have those options. That's what brokers do. I owned a mortgage brokerage and a mortgage banking company. I
Well,
know what you can do. Uh, and even though things have changed a little bit, there's still the basic aggressive nature of wanting to lend.
do mortgage brokers still help to accommodate veterans with the VA benefits?
Well, if it's a VA benefit type loan, that's what I call a premium A, straight A, vanilla loan. You've got to show a paycheck and your taxes. So you wouldn't be looking for a zero down loan if you're doing this. You're going to have to put a little more down, maybe. There's some trade-offs. It doesn't mean you can't get a loan. You just have to know what kind of loan you're getting.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a
Well-
veteran. I'd love to have a zero down loan, but I'm not going to get one because I show income, but I can show cash flow. So I have to go to an alternative loan.
Well, what's another quandary is what, aside from the strategy of showing yourself a pauper with everything, with all your assets, I understand putting all your assets for protection purposes in a trust, but from an income, quote unquote, income perspective, if you are a business owner and you're cutting yourself a paycheck, a W-2 paycheck,
Well, I would never do a W-2 paycheck.
well, the where I'm going with that question is I've come across, I haven't done my due diligence to thoroughly research them all, but from what I understand is even if as a business owner you do a W-2 paycheck every week so that you can do a 1040 at the end of the year,
Mm-hmm.
even if you are owing taxes where you've exempted yourself from all your taxes throughout the year because you've said, I'm going to pay all of this all at once through the 1040. My understanding is that there are other ways or means of ensuring that you actually don't pay the quote unquote taxes because you can simply write an instrument
No.
to pay those taxes.
No. Let me
So-
tell you, you're throwing a lot of stuff together there. Simplest way we do it once you're in this kind of training is you learn how to redeem for lawful money, and that's a way you open a special account. You put your deposits in there, you mark them a certain way, and when it comes to your tax return, you actually take a deduction almost for the amount of all the money you deposited, a deduction. Then what do you end up if you deduct almost as much as you earned? How much taxable income do you have? That's how you do it. You end up at near zero, and simple tax returns. You don't need accountants because it's so simple. You can do it on a computer program. You don't need to take deductions. You don't need them. You're already just take the standard deduction. Have a simple return. It'll pass an audit. All we've learned, and they'll accept that deduction because you know what you're doing.
But
And then
the
you'll end up with almost zero net income. But again, that's why you don't count on using that for your personal. Listen, you don't ever. Again, talk to Kiyosaki, Trump, and these guys. They'll say, yeah, you don't earn any personal income. You want it to be nearly zero because you borrow all your money through your business. But if you end up, if you make $1 million a year, but you have $1 million deduction, how much is your taxable income? That you could spend $1 million, and you got $1 million of cash flow shows on your bank account, and we've seen this past IRS audits.
and most of this strategy is taught under which?
That's that strategy. That's a trust and wealth building strategy. It's under this trust and wealth building course. You're allowed at our /trust info. And if you go to the join page as well, there's information how to link over to that. But that's that course and what it teaches how to minimize your taxable income while maximizing your income.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, that's what it does. And we have literally just got it. Again, I'm trying to get the written version. I read the testimony on our posting the other day where someone has done that already and basically brought all their tax down to zero. Paul.
Peace and blessings, TJ. Thank you.
You bet.
Follow-up question, because I'm always in that conundrum, have been for the past decade. If you take that lawful money deduction, will lenders add that back as a phantom deduction like they will depreciation?
Probably not. But
Okay.
I can call it income. When they say, well, how much?
Say that again?
But they ask you like on a credit card, because this is just ask you randomly. They don't even want you to prove it. How much income do you have? Well, you show paycheck deposits, like you take draws out of your company. You can show that in your personal account. You can show the actual money going in. You're just not going to show it on a tax return. They'll see that as they will look at it, and go, oh yeah, you really are generating here, but you got this deduction. I don't know how they'll interpret it because I'm not in their shoes and I don't know what they're looking for. But I will say that it's been, I do it, people do it, it works. If you need to borrow credit, but if you also need to build business credit,
Yeah.
and that also takes the eye off you anyway.
Right. Yep. Okay. So my other question, what I raised my hand for is, I've gone through the debt deletion course, and I see on a mortgage account, you're saying to send the certified mail to the CFO, but more generally, like in lesson one, that first round of letters asking for them to validate the debt, it just says to the entity. Do I not send it to a certain person at the bank or the credit card company?
Well, just for validation, just about anybody there in their finance department will have to answer it.
Okay.
They
And the
have to.
fact of me sending it with a certified piece of it to just the company in general means they got 30 days to respond.
Well, it means you've got proof that you sent it. That's all
Okay.
it proves. They, you give them a deadline and then you send the follow up and send the follow up and they'll send you a bunch of junk. It won't be the answer to any of your questions. So it's a
Sure.
non-response.
The
The old
fact that
saying,
they're going to
silence
send me a
is agreement.
non-response, the fact that they're going to send me a non-response, is that why you have me sending a follow-up letter at day 15?
What? Just think about it. Is their response? They send you a bunch of papers, but none of it addresses any of the items in your letter. Is it a response?
It's like
It's
it's an
noise.
attempt to cover.
It's
Right. It's
noise.
tap dancing.
But it's not
Yes.
answering questions. You got
So
questions.
then
You
I'm
ask
just going to call them
it's
out.
like
You
you
didn't
go to
answer.
court and you ask for discovery, point by point. You want each and every item of discovery, don't you?
Correct. And if they don't answer a certain question, it's as though they've confessed that worst case scenario of that question,
Generally
right?
speaking, yeah. That
Okay.
silence
All
is
right.
your agreement. That's a rule of maximum law. Your silence is essentially your agreement.
All right. Excellent. Thank you, TJ.
Okay. All right. Good question. Let's see. Cloud.
Yes, hi TJ. Thank you so much for doing this. Each and every time you do it, I always learn something new.
Good.
Um,
So do I.
so right, and that's the whole idea of life, I guess. So just a quick refresher on what we just talked about with with the way I guess income is reported, and then you deduct the fund. So what we're saying is you deposit the funds into the bank account in a certain way, and take essentially a deduction for this amount. So you don't have to do the whole uh tap the dance around, setting up an S corp and like trying to deduct funds against the S corp to be
Sounds
able to.
complicated, and I'm hate
That's
to tell you,
complicated,
but
right?
good Italian. I hate to say this. No offense to accountants, but once accountants learn this, and I say this, they go, "Yeah, you went to a good accountant. You know who he's licensed with? The IRS."
The IRS, right?
So, his
Well,
job
yeah,
is to
especially the EAs,
walk
especially
you
the
in.
enrolled agents for sure.
Yeah, and it's nothing against them. It's just the nature of the beast. You have to have the knowledge, and so yeah, when you do your property deposits, you keep the good rooks. I mean, I take a photograph of the front and back of every check. It's in a folder. I mean, I document the heck out of it. It's no big deal. It's just a photograph and print it out, stick it in a folder. But for evidence, if I'm ever audited, that's why I'm doing it. I probably
Okay,
never have to use it, but I know I got it
gotcha.
right because
Yeah, because
I'm complying with the law. I'm making this proper claim. It's a claim. It's not about the deduction as much as it is the conversion of the currency, because every dollar bill you put in has two identifiers, not one. Okay, this is just going to be hard to do on camera, but you see a circle on the left and a circle on the right,
yeah,
correct?
yes, yep.
And the one on the left, okay, I have my glasses on here. I think that's the one. That's the Federal Reserve. There's F on there. There's different banks. It's the Federal Reserve Bank F. There's different Federal Reserve banks. The Federal Reserve, you got to get this. It says Federal Reserve note on there. It doesn't say U.S. note across here. But if you receive it and use it, that's a taxable event. Until you, and if you don't rebut that, remember I said earlier, your silence agreement, then that's what it is. So if you look in the IRS code, okay, I'm not getting down this whole rabbit hole, but it says, and you hear these arguments all over. Yeah, I don't earn income or whatever. The fact is, it's not the income or not income that's the issue. The issue is you're using the private Federal Reserve's script, their stuff, upon receipt is a taxable event because you're using, and they're charging you an excise. That's why they can charge you indirect income and so forth. It's an excise. You go look at the different codes and the way it reads, you go, this doesn't make sense because nobody ever explains this part to you. They're charging you an excise for the use of their private currency. It's private. Okay, it's not public. However, they give you the choice to opt out of that activity. Because they can't, it's like the devil. He can only get you to volunteer for something. So what you do is you unvolunteer by making the declaration that it is one of these, a U.S. note. That declaration converts it from being taxable to non-taxable. And you have to do it properly upon every deposit and document it. At the end of the year, you make that adjustment. You can make $1 million, but end up at zero. That's what that course will teach you how to do. It's worth a lot. I mean, it works. And you can actually, again, I'm just telling you what we've seen. I don't want to make a declaration that it's even lawful, because it is, obviously, because it works. And it's seen and it's checked and it's verified and it's audited. And it's also why they did this. And in the course, we go into great detail explaining why you have the choice. You always have a choice. The devil can't force you to do something. He always has to give you a choice and trick you into doing something. And if you don't say anything, by default, it's this. And that is taxable. You can say, I'm a glow-in-the-dark sovereign, I'm from this planet, I'm from that state, I'm not a U.S. citizen, all that stuff. That's not what's taxed. It's the activity that's taxed. And that's in the tax code. It says they only can tax activities. The activity is the use of their private currency, and they can charge for it because it's their private currency. Does that make sense? So we just show you how to document it. Once you basically know that, it's just a matter of properly documenting it and properly filing. You do file when you do it this way, and you stand on it. Okay? Got some more questions to get here. Not hearing you. Guess we lost. Okay. We'll get to Audrey.
TJ,
Hi.
I have a question based on you saying that you used to help create the mortgages. And so this may or may not be something that you would be able to speak to, but I was curious if you would have any idea on an agricultural loan / construction loan that we took out. Would you know maybe where I could look to see where that it's a state chartered bank in Missouri here that we got the loan for, where I could potentially look to see who they sold the note to, or how that works, like for a state chartered bank, just because I'm trying to find all the
What are you trying to accomplish?
I'm trying to accomplish finding out who holds the note.
Why?
Because I have my hand in two different classes, and so the other class that I was in or am in, they're sharing that if you're able to find out who actually holds the note, you can find out what trust it's in,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
you can find out from that point. And I don't know everything, but I do know
Yeah.
that
I can
if
understand that you can find out what trust is in. Again, what's the point?
because in
Tell me
that
some
way,
procedures, but what are you trying to accomplish?
well, with that information, I can use it kind of like what we were learning in the equity class, where you could use it for your benefit to show that it's part of the process of the I don't know how to speak to it, but basically you could use it in a court case to show that
They don't have
it was
standing.
something like that. I'm still in this class,
Okay.
and so
Mortgages are a huge, deep subject, so we can't do those in these quick Q&As. And we barely cover it in our delete debt course. We have a couple of strategies, mostly involving non-secured debts. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're teaching you in that class, but yeah, it sounds like you need to keep working on that a little bit.
yeah,
I'll give you a specific question though. Okay, I got
okay.
callers piling up, just wanting to ask a question. So
No, I understand, and I was just wondering, being that you came out of that world, so to speak, what
doesn't
would be
change that. Well, I don't know what you're learning though. I don't know what you're referring to. I mean, I can only deal with firsthand information. Yes, they do. I mean, when on construction loans or sometimes private loans, show definitely locally loaned loans. They're not like institutionalized and sold until they become a permanent loan in the secondary market. Then they get sold off. But again, all that's not relevant. I mean, the question
but
is,
I do
what's
know
the
that
point?
this specific loan has been there's
Assigned.
a UCC against it, a UCC one, only because
Oh, really? That's very unusual.
yeah, that's what I was thinking too, only because my honey had bought a tractor and I looked up
Yeah.
his name, and literally his name, they have a UCC one, and the same company that does it for other companies
Mm-hmm.
on this specific loan at the bottom of the title deed and the promissory note and everything, it has the same name of the people that do UCC ones for people or
Mm-hmm.
companies.
Yeah. So yeah, those are the stickiest ones. I mean, if you got a UCC one on you, you got a real contract there. You got
Yeah,
to deal with.
yeah.
Because they're going to enforce that, and they can enforce it quick. It's not a real estate deal.
Yeah, I mean we're making all our payments and
Yeah,
everything, but I'm just looking into
but sometimes
every
we use
facet.
UCC ones. We really want to stick gum something up. That's what we use, but only if once you set it up correctly. Okay. Oh, I think we lost you there. Okay, I'm going to get to the next one because we want to start moving to the callers here. Uh, it's Hele. It's Hele. Hele. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Haley.
Haley. Okay.
Hi, TJ.
Nice try.
I have a question about your trust and wealth management course. Mainly, is it the trust that you advise people then on, is the grantor and the trustee the same person?
Should not be.
Should not be. Okay.
You can be. See, this is what I call can I questions. Can they be? Yeah. If it ever gets challenged, it would be bad if they were.
Okay. And then you
And it's
advise.
easy to fix. It's easy to fix. I'll give you the quick tip. You know, somebody else
Okay.
wants to do the similar type of thing. Maybe they want to set up a trust, or just a friend that wants to at least learn a little bit. They hand you a silver dollar, and they say, "Would you? I'm your grantor. Please create a trust. You're the trustee. Set it up. You're in control now. You're the trustee. And now that you've separated the grantor and the trustee right off, just that simple.
Okay.
And you do it vice versa.
Okay.
And then now you're grantor and trustee are not the same party. That's a very important sniff test when they try to challenge trust.
Mm.
It's
And
that
then-
simple.
Yeah. And then earlier in this conversation, you said something about you teach people to get everything out of their name. So naming the trust in my name wouldn't be a good idea either, would it?
Well, there's a school of thought on that, a couple of different ways. Yeah, it's really you might want to do, if you're thinking about doing that approach, maybe do two trusts. Do them at the same time. They're really easy to do. Once you establish one, you just change the names and print it out. Dealing with the beneficiaries and all those rules is a separate thing altogether. The whole lesson on that, and how you put the property in needs to be in the form of an exchange, not a transfer. There's got to be an actual exchange of value. So the trust has units like stocks,
Mm.
and it trades for the property. So now there's no gain to either party. It's not a non-taxable event. Exchanges are not gains. That's how you work around that. And then, yeah, you want to exchange your property into the trust. And once it's out of your name, even if you're the trustee, and you had a separate grantor and you've set up a couple other things, whether it's in your name or not, it doesn't matter. But if it is in your name, at least one of the trusts you want to use, like maybe the one that does a lot of public activity, just go around and call yourself trustee. And actually, it's a good way to defer something if you get arrested or get a ticket. Sign as trustee. Now and that's has a different tax ID number than the person they're trying to give a ticket to. Good luck.
Mm.
It
Oh, yeah.
messes them up.
Okay. Are
So
you
yeah, you can have one that's in your name, you being the trustee. But if you're the trustee, just be sure to let somebody else be the grantor. This really cleans it up.
okay? And are you at all teaching about the 508c1a trust?
It's not. We don't call it well. We call it a ministry, but it is technically a trust as well. So yeah, we have one that's I call a modified ministry trust.
Mm.
Kind of works like what you're referring to, I think. Does use the same provision, and it can also be put into your name or something like that, and you just run around as as your own ministry. And again, sign everything in that name. So guess what? It's all about the Social Security number. If you're using that name as trustee, it's a different tax ID number, and the tax ID number doesn't have the driver's license that they're trying to attach, or whatever, trying to arrest. It actually creates a real problem. So yes, you can do both. I mean, most people, when we're teaching in the trust realm, is they're maybe doing two. One's their private trust with kind of an anonymous name, then they have the one that goes out there and interfaces with the public, and that might be their name. DJ
Okay.
Morris Trust, trustee, that kind of.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you get great detail on that in the course, and again, we are going to do some updates that are pretty interesting too. All right. Wait a minute. You're in there twice. No, you're not. Daniel.
Hey TJ, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Doing all right. Do you know much about the difference, or if there is a difference, or maybe they're the same, like electronic Federal Reserve notes that would come through a loan as opposed to the paper ones? Does the law have any delineation between those two, or are they pretty much the same
I don't
thing?
think so. I mean, they're still Federal Reserve notes, and you declare them upon receipt. And
So
if
would
you
you want to
accept
do
them
like
as is without a declaration, then you accept it as a taxable event.
so if you had like a direct deposit account from the employer,
Yeah.
would you just want to like ask the employer to send you a
Two
physical
things we'll
check?
teach you in the course is one is you open up a new bank account before you do this, and you set it up as a with the proper terminology. Just make sure that's in the contract. Number one. Number two, you tell the employer there's going to be a form you fill out of some kind. You're going to put that information on that. You're just documenting every step of the way, and then when it goes to your bank, you go to your bank record and put a memo in every time there's a deposit. It's no big deal. It's really for what it's worth, what it pays you to do. It takes a few seconds of your time to just document every step. So if you're ever audited, you got everything covered. Documentation is the key.
So you're saying you could basically do that with direct deposit.
Yeah, yeah. We'll do it all
Okay,
the time.
gotcha. Gotcha.
Just
Okay.
try to pre-document it on the form you sign ahead of time. All deposits will be redeemed, blah, 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 blah. There's a terminology.
So you can basically go back to your employer after the fact and say, I need you to start sending my checks, my direct deposits to this separate account, and that's the one that you set up.
People change their bank accounts all the time on them. Hey, I got a new
Yeah.
bank account. I need to fill out the form again. give them a new bank account. There you go.
And so they may not necessarily withhold, or I mean, they would probably still
Well,
withhold.
withholding's another question, but yeah.
So, like if they did withhold, you would just basically, when you file your taxes, you would get that as a refund, correct?
You'd get a refund, yeah.
Okay.
I like to never try to ask for IRS for anything back. So I'd rather just, there's an exempt option, do that, put that in. Sometimes they try to kick that back on you. They try to make the employers collect it, but that's not what the law says.
Mhm.
And then you don't have to worry about asking for something back, but you can, yeah, you can get a refund.
Okay, thank you.
People get big with it. I think that's what this one student told me. He got all his money back from the entire year last year.
So you're saying you can even retroactively get some back? Or
Not
is
unless
that
you,
just
and from the
after?
day you start doing this.
Oh, just from the day you start. Okay.
You can't go back. And some people will say you can. I'm saying I haven't seen people be successful with it. I'm not saying you can't do a like 1040X amended return going back. But if you don't have documentation for it and they do audit you, then you kind of set yourself up for misrepresenting yourself.
hmm And do you have any idea of how much it would cost to set up like a private trust and a public trust as far as filing fees or all-in fees?
Well, other than the training part, there's really no fees. There's nothing to file.
Okay, so there's not like a state
It's a private
filing.
trust. It's not, we don't want to turn it over to the state and give them jurisdiction.
Okay, so when you set up, say, like a private and a public trust, along with the course, really the course fee is the only major fee that the whole process would entail, to your
Yeah,
knowledge.
unless you have other business things you do that have some cost, but no.
Okay, thank you very much.
You bet. No, it's cheap for the value. I mean, it's worth thousands of times what we charge you. Okay. And I know a guy that paid like $400,000 for a trust. He has no idea what's going on, and he's still paying taxes. I said, "What are you doing? You don't even know what you're doing. You don't even have an idea what you're doing." So this is simple enough that you can totally take control of it. Cheryl. Not letting me, and there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
How are you this evening?
not bad. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I just got out of bankruptcy where the court for my husband filed bankruptcy to stop a foreclosure on our home, and the mortgage company asked for equitable servitude because we between my sister, myself, and my husband, it was the third time that we filed bankruptcy. So they asked for equitable servitude.
Okay.
That
What does that mean?
that's what I need to know because I
I'm
asked
not a dictionary. What does it mean when you looked it up?
I knew that's what I didn't understand. It was saying that as far as the equity, well, according to what the judge said, it was supposed to mean that nobody with an interest in the property could file bankruptcy for 2 years.
Okay, yeah, they'll start to restrict you for a while. Come up with a better plan. Yeah.
But the question pertaining to that is, she just issued this order last week, and the foreclosure court in circuit court, the case was closed in August. So I'm wondering, is this her order muted? I mean,
Well, I don't know. What does that another court closing mean?
it says that the case was closed. So because
Okay. But what else does it say?
it's
It's got to have more than just that.
it said closed for lack of prosecution.
Okay, there. See, that's why I knew to ask the question. For lack of prosecution. Okay, is it with prejudice or without?
It didn't say.
You sure?
I'm positive, but I need to. I was looking online because I've been keeping an eye on it.
Yeah. Well, it does sound like for the time being that they would have to start all over again. So you got that going.
I understand that because they even after my husband filed bankruptcy, they went ahead with the sale and they sold it to them. That was voided. But
Right.
my question is, but is the equitable servitude, even though the case is closed in circuit court, is it still applicable?
I don't know. I'd have to look at each one of those, what they say, what the rules of procedure are, to think about how that works, what they're actually saying. It sounds to me like it might be moot, whatever they said. But I don't know. I'd have to study it. I don't have that information.
This is, I've spoken to you about this before. This is a reverse mortgage. And in the research that I've done, I found out that reverse mortgages are not supposed to be taken out on separate parcels of land. It should only be on the partial that the residence is on. And that's not what they do.
Yeah, I wouldn't know about that.
So I asked that I contacted the taxation and assessment department, and they told me that I could request a separate deed and tax ID number.
Okay.
For the two different parcels. So, but I'm wondering if would I be violating the equitable servitude if I did that? Because she said it would just.
I'd have to research that. I don't give legal advice. I have to do the research and do a case study on the whole thing and see what it is, which I don't do. But you'd have to go research, what does that even mean? What is the procedure? What are the rules of procedure in that case?
So where would I go to research that?
Well, look in the rules of procedure for the court that you're in. You're in bankruptcy court. They got rules of procedure, orders. Go look and do some case law research on to see how that's been treated.
Okay, so
I would do anything. You have to just keep digging until you find the answers.
Okay. All right. Well, that was
never dealt with that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Always got to do your homework. All right. She does. She definitely does her work. If you ask me a question, ask me something relevant to what we're doing. All right, Mark.
Hi, TJ.
Hi.
Thanks for taking my question. So a gentleman asked a little bit earlier, this is a little bit off the topic that we're currently on, but he asked earlier about the driver's license and signing the driver's license. And I'm in your syntax course. And so I received a new driver's license, and I did, this is before I knew these procedures. So, but I did sign it, first name hyphen middle name colon last name. I did not sign all rights reserved, but I did your dollar stamp method on the back of the driver's license. So put the dollar postage stamp, blue thumbprint, signed across it, and then put copyright, copy claim. What does that actually do?
Well, actually, it is explained a little bit in the course, but
yeah,
I don't want to go into repeating it, and I haven't taught that course in a long time. But it's just making a personal claim. You're putting a different mark on there. Like one code, U.S. Code 1 says any mark is your signature. And of course, it's putting a context on it. It's not accepting it as the all caps name. So, and if you ever get challenged on it, you want to have an idea how you're going to use that as an argument. I've had some funny responses when I was putting the dollar stamp on, where the cops were like, "What is this?" I said, "Well, go ask your supervisor." That's what I said. I never answered the question. Don't go.
Right.
Go ask your supervisor. He should know. And they just came back and said, "Have a nice day." So it kind of it shows that the contract isn't in the normal form, so they have a problem. So when you sign without prejudice and do it the regular way, and you just do it without recourse, and they accept it, that's the contract. They accepted it without recourse, so they can't hold it against you.
Right. So I just got a new passport as well, and I did the same thing on the passport. Signed the passport the way you recommended. Did a thumbprint on their signature, in the proper format. And then I also did the dollar stamp method in the back of the book on like page 50, like you showed. The signature on the passport is a little bit different because I did the all rights reserved, et cetera, et cetera.
Did you do it on the application?
Yeah, the application, I did the DS-11 according to the Copper Stills guy's procedure. If you remember that guy.
Yeah, I remember them. Yep.
Yeah, it actually came back. My passport card came back with 3 stars. And again, the stars.
I've never found that has any meaning.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Might have
there's
to do with where you live.
almost,
It's-
yeah.
it's like
I mean,
has
some
no
people,
effect. Again, you got to now back up. You're talking about a lot of technical minutia.
right.
What are you trying to accomplish with it? Is the question. Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, with those documents, I mean, I want to be able to have those documents, but not be held to the contracts,
Okay. Fair
specifically.
enough.
So,
Like I said, you can do it that way. Now we kind of moved more toward the simpler thing, just without recourse. You can do all rights reserved, but don't ever do all rights reserved with something else because you can cancel it out. People do that a lot. They start writing 4 or 5 different things, guessing. No, put the one down that you want. Says
right.
what you're trying to say.
Yep.
Do I know what without prejudice means? Then just use that. Or without recourse. Some people write the word void after every signature. That's
It's
clear.
interesting that they would accept that.
Are you giving me legal advice? My legal counsel says that's how I'm supposed to sign everything. So are you
Right.
giving me legal advice? What's your bond number, by the way? Your insurance information. Very
Right. I mean,
polite.
if you go and sign a promissory note for a new automobile that way and you sign without
No, I
recourse,
wouldn't do an automobile that way.
well,
This is when you're signing something that could bring liability to you, like I don't know, a getting out of jail signature, an arrest, a ticket. That's different than something you might do as a business contract. There, you might sign as manager. That's all you say, or as the Social Security as beneficiary, or if it's see how to use. You have to put the context on what you're doing. The bank loan, they got to have the straw man's name. If you write without recourse, I guarantee you they'll cancel the loan.
yep.
They need the signature to get the money. Deal with the other part later. They never sign it. Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
How about they never loaned you any money? How about that?
The whole promissory note thing, endorsing those notes over to you, that's a whole nother.
Yeah. But again,
Right.
I get like always looking like when it comes to how you sign something, look at the context of what you're doing and what you want to accomplish. Like if I go to court and I wrote void next to my name, and I said, Your Honor, see this license here? What does it say right there? Void. And I would say, do we have a contract? The answer would have to be no. Or just he wouldn't say yes or no. He'll just go, case dismissed. They won't say. Or if I wrote without prejudice or without recourse. Now, they will stop you when you do it. All 3 of my kids and my wife all got stopped, but they all got their document.
So at the DMV, they signed in that manner, and the DMV personnel said you can't do that. They said I
Yep.
can sign however I want to.
My answer is always after I sign like that, and they go, well, you can't sign like that. I go, well, that's really weird. I just did. Holly, oh, how did I do that? You said I couldn't, and I did. Wow, that's amazing. That's really weird, isn't it? I mean, I get that stupid because that's how stupid what they're saying is.
Right.
Sure, I can because I just did. And my legal counsel says that's how I'm supposed to sign everything. Are you giving me legal advice? Well, I'm going to get my supervisor over here. Oh, thank you. Please. Yes, thank you. Have your supervisor come. How are you, sir? He said, well, our policy is the state says you can't sign that way. And I said, that's really weird. I just did. Isn't that strange? And I said, but by the way, my legal counsel says that's how I'm supposed to sign everything. Are you giving me legal advice? And by the way, do you have a bond number that you're a public official? Can I get that number? Let him through. You just got to boom, boom, boom. Just be ready with the questions, fire them all, be confident, be polite. You know?
So you could this is the last piece of the question. I'll let somebody else go. But you could theoretically go in and say, look, I need a new license. I lost it. Get the new license, sign without recourse or sign void or however you want to sign it. And boom. I mean,
That's the contract.
right.
That term and condition has been added to the contract.
So a cop pulls you over and sees void as your signature.
I would, if a cop pulled me over and if I see like something obvious like that, like I never do UCC 1-3. I did once did that. I said, what am I doing that for? It's not, that
You don't
doesn't
know.
say anything. That's a reference to a code. It's not actual words of a contract. So I said, I would say, can you see what it says right there, officer? Yeah. Look at that. Yeah, isn't that cool? It says void. So do we have a contract? He says, well, I don't care. I'm going to give you a ticket anyway. Okay, fine. Where do I sign? Sign. Void. Do we have a contract? If they don't give you one to sign, fine. Send it in and write void on it. Send it into the court. Say, we don't have a contract. And if you have to go to the court hearing, ask the judge, you see what it says on my license? See how I signed here? Void, do we have a contract? You don't get into the argument about the ticket. It's not relevant.
Yeah.
About the
Okay, great.
contract.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Just like my friend who had to go to federal court. I just keep talking about it as if it's a contract, conditionally accept it with a condition. And they couldn't bind him up. They could have taken his probation away and put him in jail. But he walked out, and in fact, walked out probably with a possible release from probation. Then. So it makes a difference how you approach these things. You approach it like a business. All right, Postman. I like that movie, The Postman.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I had a question. I'm recently separated and going through, child support, alimony, spousal support. I do have some businesses and kind of want to protect them as far as the assets. I'm not worried about those splitting those 50-50, but as far as businesses, I want to protect them. Is there anything that I could look into the site that would help me out with these?
Well, the
issues?
more you do it in advance of the event, the more choices you have and the more effective it is. Starting
Okay.
always there. It's always hard to buy the insurance after the fire starts.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Go to the insurance and say, well, my house is on fire. Can I buy some fire insurance? It's much fewer. Your options are way diminished.
Well,
So it depends on if you're asking me, well, before I do something, or I'm already in this now. Because at
what I
that
did.
point, your choice, because what they'll do is if you do anything during the event, once it starts, they can go back and do what's called a clawback. They can reverse whatever you did legally.
Well, what I did was I did your wealth course, and I did the status I'm sorry, I can't
You've
draw
taken the
it right.
status, the trust training, so forth.
Yeah, well, so I submitted that as an answer, the power of attorney and the
Oh, okay, just the status doc. Okay. Yeah.
and I submitted that as an answer, for everything, and then also turned away the summons, or actually told the sheriff that the name was in all caps and that's not me, and so technically I hadn't been served anything. Um, However, I did answer with my status correction, and
Okay. Well, I guess you have to see how that works. I mean, it depends on what presumptions they've got.
and also did a plea of abatement and handed it to the judge's chambers and also her
Okay.
attorney.
Well,
So,
as those documents state, that's how you should plan to appear and defend.
okay, all right,
If you go off that for a second, then they're going to say, "Oh, he got this off a website.
right,
He doesn't know what he's doing."
exactly.
Now, if you already had moved your assets into the trust before this, and
Yeah,
or if you had been doing the deposits the way we teach in the program, where you actually have a tax return from the previous year showing, man, I'm making no money. How much are
right.
they going to get out of your payroll check? Not much, because you've got a tax return that says you don't make much.
Well, I don't get a pay stub. I'm self-employed. I mean, I own.
Right. But still, though, that you could
Yeah,
document it either
right.
way
Gotcha.
with that system, so you have a history to show.
I have been doing the lawful money, redeeming lawful money on the back of my checks, and for the last year.
And you keeping
And
copies of that? So you have proof
I,
and everything?
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, proof is really key. So if you're doing it for last year, have you filed a return for last year?
I'm about to. My CPA is about to work on that now. I'm waiting on a K1
Now
from
your
other
CPA
company.
is going to mess you up.
So yeah, what do I do? Just get rid of her and
Well, if you have the
um.
books and the numbers, I teach in the class, go to tax free, free tax USA, get an account, do them yourself.
Free Tax USA.
Yeah. And you don't
Okay.
need, I mean, if you do this right,
And
most
then
people that do this don't take any deductions. You don't take any benefits. You take maybe the standard deduction, and that's it. So it takes about 10 minutes to fill it out. You take all your total income, you put it in there, but then and the other line, you're going to do the deduction. It's
Okay.
shown in the course how to do it.
Okay. Tax USA.
Pre-tax USA, and then the course on doing those types of deposits shows you how to make the entry in the tax return, depending on which, shows you two different ways depending on how you're approaching,
Okay.
because you can take it more than one way. But then
Gotcha.
at the end, your bottom line is real small. But yeah, they're going to ask you for tax return at some point. You can say, well, I'm a pauper. You know?
Well, they already did ask for, all my financials, but,
So you're already, that's why I say
but
it's hard once the fire starts.
yeah, so I don't know if they can even, I mean, with everything that's filed, I gave them 10 days to reply to the plea of abatement. So
Right. Well, stick on that. If you know what it says and understand it,
I do.
just stay on that point for a while. And, like I said, some of the things I can tell you about are things that if you didn't do it, it's just like I said, if you transfer an asset during something like this, they'll go, okay, fine. Oh, look at this. He transferred this last week, and this was after the case started. We claw that back, and they can reverse the transfers.
Right.
You gotta be that course is a planning for the future situation, and of course, a lot of us wait till it's a little too late. It's not uncommon.
Right.
Do what you can. At least you're doing the lawful money part. You got that part, and hopefully you got it well documented, and you understand when you do it on a return, you got to understand why you're putting it there, and you can defend it.
Right. Gotcha. I appreciate it.
You bet. Let's see, Tonya.
Hey, hi, TJ.
Hi.
I have a question for you. I completed a power of attorney and filed it with the state of Georgia. And I know it mentions somewhere in there about sending a copy to the attorney general, governor, or whoever you think needs to have it. There's not a court case or anything like that going on. However, if I need to send that, I'd like to know.
Don't quit. Is that a complete question? You'd like to
Yes.
know what?
Yeah, I'd like to know if I need to send it to those officials.
Oh,
No, there is not anything going on at the moment.
I got it.
Uh-huh.
But there's a list of suggested parties to send it to. It doesn't hurt to send it to more people. It can only hurt you not to in case it comes up later. Depends on how you plan on using it.
Just for
Can I question? You can
uh-huh.
cover a lot of bases.
Is there anything I need to say when I send a copy to like the governor of the state?
Well, if it's got is it self-explanatory enough, do you think? Or do
Yeah.
you might want to send a cover letter, say this is just for your record, keep this on file.
Okay.
It's up to you how you want to present it to them, what the context is.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. But I will tell you, even though you do those things, what's going to matter even more is that if you don't have your stuff in the trust, you're not doing these other things, you're kind of incomplete, because those are the things that actually will have a direct effect on you.
Yes. Understood.
All right. All right, then. That's it. Peggy. I'm going to go one more after this because I have Justin in line. That'll be it. Peggy, go ahead. Peggy? She's gone. Justin, you will be it. Question.
TJ, can you hear me?
No, I can.
Oh, okay. TJ, I've got a question about appointing a power of attorney. Can a trust be a power of attorney for one?
Can a trust speak?
Yeah, like can I appoint like a power of attorney as my agent? Can a trust be an agent?
Generally speaking, I'd say no, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because you're really an agent somebody who has a voice that can speak on behalf of something. I don't know why you'd want an entity to speak. Can a state speak to you? Can a corporation speak to you?
No.
No, the living man has got to be this, an agent has no liability, if you understand what agent means.
TJ, I'm just a little bit confused, man, because they say agent is,
What's the
I don't have a
definition?
middle name, so first name colon and then the last name, or last name comma first name. So I'm kind of
Well, what are you
confused.
trying to do? This
Just
is all,
create a power of attorney. I think that's foundational document for a lot of things. Living man being the agent for the principal.
which has always been the case, by the way.
Right,
You've been that your whole life.
right.
Clearly identify. I'm TJ, agent. You don't say living man. They know that. Principal might be again, in what context? Is this a business? Is this your name? What context are you using this in?
I was just creating a power of attorney.
Just creating a power of attorney for general purposes isn't going to do you much good if you don't have an idea how it's going to get used. Because you're not going to know what to do with it. So just don't do something for the sake of, hey, that sounded good. I heard that on a YouTube video. Just do it because there's a reason for it. What kind of situation would you want to use it in?
Well, every situation in commercial world, like you said, we are the agents. So
Yeah,
I'm
you
just
already
trying to
are.
figure out what's the proper way. I know they accept all our documents with
Like
us
when you sign a
just
check, it's already got authorized agent or authorized representative on the line. It already tells you that.
okay.
But what do you expect that to do for you? In what context? So you have to think about context all the time whenever you ask these questions. What do I want it to do for me? Yeah, you can write agent, you can write brain fart. What does it mean? What are you trying to say? So you just have to have an idea why you're trying not to sign on the name of the name. But we just have this article we have up. It goes into all kinds of titles you could use. The title is putting you in a limited capacity. That's all it is. Because I'm
Because
not the
even like
principal.
on a
An agent
UCC,
is the agent. For a corporation, the first thing you have to name when you file a corporation is the agent.
well, even like on a UCC, how the Secretary of State would reject it, saying that it's the same name, cannot be a
Yeah,
secured party with a debtor. So that's why I'm asking the
right.
question, like,
But that's a whole different scenario. I mean, to be specific. Um, but yeah, because they don't. It isn't making sense that the
well,
way
but
I don't know what you filed, so I don't know what it said. They must have said it doesn't make sense to them.
right, but that's what I'm saying. Even in the legal documents, they accept it from us. If you're buying a car or a house, anything banking you're doing, they do accept it, as is me being the agent for my principal.
Which
But
has always been
like,
the case. Yes, every
right,
form if you ever sign that's the capacity you're actually signing it. You're just clarifying, saying I'm signing as agent or as beneficiary if it's Social Security.
okay. Well,
What's the context?
maybe I'm not asking it correctly because
Well, I think you're trying to make things very broadly stated. I'm trying to tell you, you have to put it in a context because you don't always use agent. You might be signing as the manager of an LLC, common manager, or as if if I have a trust that's in my name, I'm signing as trustee
well,
because
that's,
I'm in that capacity when I sign it. 'Cause I
but
want some
TJ,
protection.
they're always saying that we're we can't do something. They're always saying it's the name game all the time. So that's the thing. I mean, for a trust, I can say as a
Sure.
trustee and not personally, and even for an LLC as a manager. But this whole commerce game is about the name game. So, but
Right.
if
That's
I'm
why I say it's so important to understand when you qualify and the whole purpose. What you're asking me is why are we doing limited liability signatures? That's what you're really asking. Why do I want to limit my liability? And which ways can I do it? Well, agent is one way. Because what does that mean though? If you've ever started a business, an LLC or a corporation, have you?
yeah, I have done LLC
Okay, what's
before.
the first thing they want to know on the form?
Like, what is my position?
They're going to want to know who's the agent. And that agent is the authorized agent. And if you look up in the law, it'll say generally for the purposes of giving process service. That's it. That's a limited capacity. You're not the entity. You're not the president, because you would sign as president if you're president. You're not the CEO. You're just the agent for process service purposes. So if somebody delivers you a summons to court and you sign as agent, are you yet accepting personal liability?
So let
No,
me
you're just
understand the way
accepting
you're
process
saying it.
service for the corporate name.
So basically what you're saying is whether it's last name, comma, first name, colon, last name, as long as it qualify the signature as slash agent, that's all that matters. Is that what basically what you're saying?
Well, I didn't quite say that, but it obviously, however you're accepting it, as long as you give your limited liability title, you're limiting your liability.
Okay. All right.
When you put something after that or instead of it, you're limiting. You just changed the contract. I'm not here as the principal. I'm here as the authorized agent. I'll see that your papers get delivered. Have a nice day.
All right, DJ, just real quick.
That's it.
So on the DMV thing, when you sign to get a license, just sign the name and comma void. Is that how one would do it?
Some have done it that way. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, and you have to be prepared for the pushback. Or
Oh,
you
no,
can say
I
without recourse, whichever one means more to you. Void is a
no,
very good one for tickets. And
no,
anything
I
like you're in jail, they're trying to get you out of jail, and they said, "Here, sign here," and you just put your name and you write void. You just contract.
then you're not going anywhere. Then you're staying. And
Not
I
necessarily.
understood you.
No. They'll usually throw you back in jail, but they have no contract. They can't hold you very long. It screws them up, but you got to be bold. You got to
Right,
understand
right.
why you're limiting your liability and what it's probably going to do.
No, I got it when you did that little video on void or without prejudice. I got that.
Yeah.
So,
Just
okay. All
be
right. Thank
creative.
you.
Think your way through. You bet. All right, Armin. Quick question. We're at our time. Armin, I took one more than I said I would. Go ahead. Yeah.
Quick question. Yeah, quick question. So, where exactly can I find a little bit more about, like, the things that you just mentioned, without recourse, without prejudice, void? Is it
Oh,
in
we
the
did a blog article on that. It's on the blogs.
blog?
There, I think. Let's see, that was a couple weeks ago.
Okay, okay. And
And also, if you watch the premium member replay video, I went into great detail on this. That's from it's on the list of replay videos you can watch. Here's how
got
to
it.
sign documents to protect yourself.
Got it. In that $2,000 asset slash status change program or course, is there? I've seen people, like most of the people that I've heard are U.S. citizens and they change to U.S. national. Have you heard anything about green card holders becoming U.S. nationals?
No, because that's a very specific contract you're under.
Mm-hmm.
You're here by special invitation through the District of Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
You did sign through there, even though you might have been in LA or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of their offices, their territories that you signed in. So I wouldn't stress too much on that. Focus though, you can still have trusts, you can still have businesses, you can still do lawful money deposits, you can still do all the things. You're just not going to be playing around with the status because you're on a very strict contract. You can't.
Okay, but I'm still, I will be able to do also limited liability on the driver license, on the social securities, like
You
other.
can still sign anything any way you want. Like as soon as that when they gave you that contract,
Yeah.
you got a birth into the country.
Gotcha.
Birth certificate. That's after that, it's all the same.
Would you go?
The only difference is you can't vote and whatever. But who
Gotcha.
cares?
Yeah. But
how's that working out for us?
understood. Would you go through the naturalization process? Meaning, would you become a U.S. citizen? In my case, is it necessary or
You want to? You
I
look
don't
at the
know.
benefits and you decide. I can't tell you what you should or
People-
shouldn't. It's a very personal decision on that.
Yeah, understood. Because I've heard from other people that it's possible to have a legend to the state, and because you have a legend to this, no,
Well, let me put it to you this way. You're no different than somebody who was born here wants to make you a U.S. citizen. And can all those people do all the things we're talking about? Yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't change. You have never been the U.S. citizen. The U.S. citizen is a business estate that was created. That's all it is. It's not you.
I see. Okay, got
So
it.
if you become one and you want the tools of being a U.S. citizen, I don't care. It doesn't matter. If you do all these other things, it doesn't matter whether you're a resident, green card holder, or a U.S. citizen. It doesn't matter. The status things might help a little bit, but your contracts, you can still sign a certain way.
Mhm.
Okay?
Perfect, thanks.
Yep, hope that helps. Sometimes we sweat the small stuff and miss the, as we call, chase the red herring. Peggy, one more chance there. See if we can get you unmuted here. Not unmuting. Here we go.
There you go. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I have a client who just had her wages garnished. She's retired, getting Social Security, but she had a credit card that she had stopped paying, and we're doing some equity on that. And she received no notification from them anywhere that they were going to garnish her wages. It's just all of a sudden she didn't get a paycheck. And so she went to payroll and asked.
Back up. There's more to the story. There's a
Okay.
beginning of the story. What did you said you for your clients? I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Yes, it's my client, and
But
we
what
are
do you
doing.
do?
She came to me because we have a title holding trust in her
Okay.
on her property, and so we've been managing her trust for about, I'm going to
You're
say
that
5-6 years.
Now I get it. Okay, now I get it. All right.
Okay.
'Cause I know not many people know that. So okay. Now
Yeah.
I had a little have a context. Now she's
Okay.
having her wages garnished for what reason? What
She
is the
doesn't. So the only thing that she knows is we are, and
By
I say
who?
we, by me and Roger.
Who is
we
garnishing?
So her garnishment is by one of the credit card companies
Credit
that we
card
have.
company. Okay.
Yes,
She
that
has
we
a,
have.
she probably has a default judgment somewhere.
We looked. I went to the courthouse. There is no default judgment. There's no nothing anywhere in the courthouse.
Okay.
And she said she's received nothing in the mail, and she's been very diligent about checking her mail regularly, just in case, because we had some situations in the past where she wasn't checking her mail. So
Yeah,
is there
get that idea that they shouldn't have a mailbox? Like, okay, please.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. And I have a mailbox, by the way.
I
mine
tell
is
the
one-
IRS, I keep my address up to date. Man, I want to be the first thing to know. They
That's right.
want to contact me.
That's right.
This
That's
quick
what, and
response is
she's,
how you beat them.
yes, and she's done that with
So she's got this
her IRS.
mysterious garnishment coming in from all I got to do. I mean, you got to find out. It's got to be in the record somewhere,
Okay.
somewhere that where this garnishment. You got to contact the company. Say, what is this? Where's the judgment? Give me the information. They got to provide that information to you.
Okay.
And
That's
say
well, and
what is this? I got to know what I'm talking about. And maybe it's a mistake. Maybe it's not. Maybe there is a judgment in another place under a different name. Whatever it is, you got to investigate it and find out.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I'm going to send a notice of inquiry to find out what's going on with this, because as I said, I went to the courthouse. I live in the same county she does. And
Yeah.
so I've had full access to the courthouse for about 30 years. So I'm not worried. They all know me down there. and
Yeah,
and they
start
like
there
me.
and see what you can find out. But there's got to be a way to trace that down, what it is.
Okay,
And start
okay.
there. Then you decide what to do about it. If there was a default judgment, was she properly served? All the things
Okay.
that could disqualify the judgment.
Okay. All right. I could get that out tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay. And if you haven't checked out some of these programs I've been talking about, you're listening to this for the first time, or you have thought about upgrading, the value, ask anybody that's in them, and you can look at some of our blogs, some of our testimonies. It's worth thousands of times when we should charge way more for it, but we want it to be affordable for the status and tax program. That instantly pays for itself. The gold level delete debt program almost instantly pays for itself because of the almost instant effect you can have on credit, as well as starting to delete debts and start changing the way you manage your life. Those two courses will dramatically alter your future. So take a chance to look at those if you haven't. If you have questions, of course, you can send those to me through the information that's on the premium member page.